Welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice and making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 969-KTRS.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and welcome to Straight Talk on Retirement. You're live and local, St. Louis's favorite financial call-in show. I'm Jeff Lapidus, president of JBL Financial Services. Our offices are located in beautiful, sunny downtown Olivet, Missouri. I am a 41-year veteran, or is it 42, one of the two, of the financial services area, a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And I'm joined by my very favorite, oldest, prodigal, wanting to get a ride home today, daughter, Aaron Lapidus, who also is a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager.
We help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a written step-by-step strategy, a real game plan that has several goals in mind.
First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate. Second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one that they can count on, so they can do all the things they'd like to do during retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their health care needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to supplement their medical coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches or charities, whoever it might be, with Uncle Sam or the tax courts taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us retirement coaches. Babe, good morning.
Good morn.
It is another wonderful day in the neighborhood, and thank everybody for tuning in this morning, whether you're on the phone or on your computers or listening to the radio or out in the shop, wherever it would be. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We love having you. We are live and local. We'd love to hear from you. Our phone lines are always open at 931-5877, star 5877 from your cell phones, or 84126 from the increasingly popular and Aaron-dominated text line. Well, I don't get to answer them.
You don't get to.
No, I don't.
You don't get to.
Exactly. And before we start our show today, we do want to remind everybody that all of our clients are folks like you. They're our listeners. They're 55 and older. They'd like to retire, or they're already retired. And as Aaron mentioned, we create a game plan for them so they can have a fun and hopefully financially successful worry-free retirement. And if you'd like to keep in touch with us during the week, lots of ways to do it.
That's right. Just log on to our website, jblfinancial.com. In the upper right-hand corner, you can click on the Contact Us section. Send us an email, request a coaching session, have a question. We'll try and answer it for you. Or you can click on the lower left-hand side of the screen in the pop-up box that appears. It says Sign Up for our monthly newsletter. We call it the Coach's Corner. You can also scroll to the middle of the page and click Sign Up, and we will send that to you every single month.
And Aaron and her staff do keep the last 6 to 8 months of those archived for your viewing, printing, and downloading convenience. And we have a new month.
I mean, we have a new month, but it's already like the 28th of the month, yeah, or 27th. I mean, it's time, 28th. Time is flying by.
And this newsletter is flying out the door. So we'll leave that for this morning if you want, babe.
A quick review.
Sure.
The first infographic, almost self-explanatory. COVID left the U.S. travel industry reeling. You don't say.
Article 2.
Stock market risks in the spotlight. So this talks about the different types of risk that could impact, most specifically, the equity side of the market. So inflation and interest rate risk.
Regional risk.
That's
government
right.
risk.
legislative or regulatory impacts. So those
Thank
are things
you.
that we've been heavily following in the news lately.
Geological risk.
Right, event or headline-driven volatility. So that would be if there was an earthquake or the pending hurricane. I know that they've already started evacuating parts of New Orleans.
Or a messed-up rescue from Afghanistan.
That seemed to have less of an impact. I think it's a little too far removed.
Gotcha.
That's my opinion. It didn't seem like I don't know what you thought about it, but it didn't seem like the market took too much of a hit from what seemed to be a pretty significant story for our country, at least.
Article 3?
Child tax credit for 2021. Will you get more?
No.
Okay.
That was a personal side.
Clearly. This was not a question to you.
Article 4.
Signs of a scam and how to resist it.
Good one.
That's right. If you happened to hear our show last week, you heard a personal way that we help our clients resist scam.
Right.
You. It's just...
Yeah, I have made personal. I have done a couple of personal visits, right?
Exactly.
To protect them from the scammers. Well,
that's right.
That's just what we do. We love them. We love our clients. That's what we do.
There are also ways that you can keep in touch with us every single day. If you log on to our Facebook, JBL Financial, or follow us on Twitter, also JBL Financial. We like to post articles not just about financial planning, but things that are going on around the St. Louis metro area, as well as fun lifestyle tips and tricks.
And you also do have a healthcare blog, I understand.
And we do. We have a healthcare blog available. If you log on to our website, jblfinancial.com, we post previous radio shows, also clips of shows. So if you're looking for a specific topic, you might be able to find it in our library versus listening to the full show. Or
and
you're
the
welcome
most
to do
important, contact us section.
That's right, in the upper right-hand corner.
And we do receive a lot of questions, requests for coaching sessions, which we love.
Try to get back to you within 2 business days.
There you go. Very happy to do that. And we have been seeing a lot of folks, and also in multiple ways, right?
That's right. We are continuing to see people not only in the office, which is very nice since we have our new digs to share with everyone.
Yes, we do.
But we have modified all of our processes to accommodate for any kind of distance meetings, meaning if you'd like a phone conversation, if you'd like to have it over Zoom, we're able to accommodate all of that. We've definitely done that as well. Whatever means you are comfortable with, we are going to try and accommodate.
At the same time, for those folks that do want to come to visit us in person, which is fun, we're working to keep our environment as COVID-free as we can, right?
That's right. We're still following all of the CDC's guidelines and thoughts, meaning cleaning the offices between meetings,
socially
distancing, and everything like that. And also only seeing one client at a time.
Yes.
Try not to have too much crossover.
Yes. And what's nice is that we do, again, offer coaching sessions, not just for healthcare clients, those interested in enrolling in Medicare remotely, but also financial planning clients as well.
That's right.
As well. So it's either way. We're going to make it easy for you to work with us.
Exactly. So we did.
What could be more fun?
Exactly. We had the opportunity to enhance our systems in order to accommodate additional distance if necessary.
Yes, and again, the nice also thing for us is that, and just as I mentioned about our new digs, we have two conference rooms.
That's right.
We have our initial meeting conference room,
and we have our client conference room,
and our client conference room, which you have to be a client to get into. But it's a nice living room type space, a little more comfortable, a little bit different, and we just love folks to come to visit us. So
yes, we do.
So those clients that haven't visited, guess what? Time to catch up.
Exactly.
And for us to say thank you for helping pay for the space.
That's right. And you come check it out. It's your space too.
That's right. It's sort of like the house that Ruth built, right? Yankee Stadium.
Exactly, which
is good. So we are open, and that was really one of the questions that we received. We are open. We are receiving new clients, and frankly, we're getting them at a pretty busy rate right now.
Yeah, I think a lot of things are going on for people either making the decision that they'd like to retire either sometime this year, or the end of this year, beginning of next year, or maybe they've decided that they don't want to go back to work if they were staying at home, if they'd been furloughed.
Yes.
And then we have a group of clients that maybe, or potential clients that unfortunately maybe didn't get to make the decision, be it for health reasons or downsizing or other issues that the decision to retire was made for them.
But it's all fun.
That's right. That's what we're here to do, work through what comes up.
Exactly. So, well, that's good. And so, again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 931-5877, star 5877 from your cell phones, or 84126 from the text line. And while we're waiting for your calls and texts this morning, Erin had an interesting coaching session last week.
That's right.
And we like to call, and we're calling it putting the pieces together.
Sometimes there are a lot of pieces to put together.
Yes, there are.
Kelly joined us for a Zoom coaching session this week. She's 63 and ready for grandma time. So she's ready to retire.
There's nothing more sacred than grandma time.
Right. And during our first visit, she let us know that she was pretty certain her career was coming to an end, not by her choice anyway. So it seemed like things were lining up in that she didn't think she was going to have much more time at the position she was in because of, other staff changes. But she was already ready to
And I've heard that
leave.
from some other clients. They're seeing consolidations.
Mm-hmm. Change
Sometimes
in management.
acquisitions, exactly. And so they're asking, can I get out?
Right.
Because this may be the time.
So she really wanted to know, even if this particular position comes to an end, does that mean that she could stay fully retired, or is she going to have to go back to work?
Well, let's talk about her numbers, because that's what it all comes down to.
That's right. So Kelly let us know that she's spending about $2,800 a month. We want to gross that up for taxes by about 15%, which is high. That's going to give her a little buffer because really she's most likely going to be right around the 10% tax bracket with that level of spending, which means it's about $3,200 a month what she needs. Her Social Security at 63, and she's single, so we're just considering her numbers, is $1,400 a month. So that means that her deficit's about $1,800 every month. Over 12 months, that's $22,000 a year or so, which means that she would need about $546,000 if we were drawing at a prudent rate of about 4% in order for us to meet that deficit.
That's really the milk money.
Exactly.
But
unfortunately,
she doesn't have that much, does she?
No. She's got about $285,000 in her 401k. She's going to receive $8,000 in vacation pay, and that's a net number. So her original gross number, we netted the taxes out because they were going to take that immediately. It wasn't one of those opportunities where you could roll that vacation time into your IRA. Some companies allow for that based on how the benefits are paid. But she also had $9,000 in a Roth 401k, so she had started a couple of years ago contributing to that as well as her traditional 401k.
Nice.
So as we were chatting, because clearly the numbers did not line up immediately, Kelly let me know that she had some debt that she wanted to liquidate.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting because in many cases, as we like to say, it's easier to pay off debt than it is to grow capital.
Right, and I think many people know that intuitively. Like, I get rid of this payment, that means I'm spending less every month, essentially. Maybe they don't have the full picture, but I think intuitively they get that. And
her payments were pretty hefty.
Exactly. So naturally I said, okay, well, what are these debts? Let's talk about not only what is the monthly payment, but what's the balance of the debt and what is your interest rate? So we found that she has a car loan of about $10,000 a month, but she has a $325 a month payment. $10,000 in credit card debt, and it's $180 a month payment. And a personal loan for $8,000, that's $395 a month.
So between all of these, and what we're really looking at is about $900 a month of payments.
Exactly, which means that of the $2,800 a month, $900 of that is going to debt service alone.
Almost 35%.
Exactly. So our first thought was, how do we alleviate some of these outflows from the budget? Well, there are two places that we can go to immediately that aren't going to cause a tax ramification for Kelly. Instead of rolling the 401k Roth component into a Roth IRA, which would be the rollover option.
And that's tax-free.
Exactly. We suggested, how about, Kelly, you bring that Roth money home and pay off one of these debts. So, the personal loan for $8,000 a month, for $8,000 could be paid off automatically with the money from the Roth.
Cool.
Then also her vacation pay, she's going to get that paid out to her no matter what, meaning she doesn't get the option of rolling that anywhere. It's going to come to her net taxes anyway. So why don't we take that $8,000 and pay off the credit card debt? Because those we determined were the two highest interest rate debts that she had, and because they were all similar in terms of amount, we didn't have to really factor that in. So it was important to get rid of the highest interest debt first. Also, the credit card is on a 1-year amortization. We didn't determine what the personal loan was, but it probably doesn't amortize over the 6 years that her car loan did. So
Gotcha.
We determined, based on interest rate and amortization, that those were the two best places to pull the money from to pay off first. So if we do that, that automatically reduces her monthly expenses by $575.
And that's a great start.
Exactly.
But that wasn't really the end of the story, was it?
No, that wasn't the end of the story. That was really the beginning, because that's where we paused our coaching session, because Kelly hadn't really determined what was going to happen next. Was she going to retire? Was she going to be asked to leave? So we sent her back to the drawing board and said, we'll give you a call in a week or so and follow up to continue the conversation. But Kelly moved a little quicker, and we ended up having, our first coaching session was on Monday, and our second coaching session was on that Friday.
Wow.
Because
she was a motivated grandma.
That's exactly right. And we found that she was offered a severance package.
Nice.
For her retirement. $20,000 of severance pay and 6 months of COBRA, which is pretty impressive because, we figured out that her COBRA expense was going to run about $870 a month. So that means that that's really an extra $5,200 of severance money that she was going to be receiving, essentially. So this really just made the numbers so much better, because with $20,000 of severance, what we could do is pay off all of the loans. So first we took care of the personal loan and the credit card debt, but with $20,000, we can also get rid of the car loan. So
that's kind of cool. And so really you've reduced her payments by $900, but the other thing was you had a little money left to pay those COBRA premiums, right?
Well, she didn't even have to worry about the COBRA premiums for 6 months.
Which is awesome.
So basically to really crystallize this for Kelly, we ran her numbers again. Originally, she needed $2,800 a month. We could take $900 out of her budget because she no longer has that debt service, which means she needs $1,900 a month, which is only $2,100, which is only $2,100 a month if we gross it back up for taxes. Sure. When we take her Social Security out, that means she only has a deficit of about $800 a month, which is about $9,500 a year. That means her new magic number, or her new milk money, is $235,000.
Oh my God!
Which means she went from
She went from being stuck outside watching a Trump rally to first row. Woo-hoo.
That's one way of putting it.
There you go.
Or one could say, she went from potentially needing to pick up some part-time employment, or really consider her spending on the lifestyle side of things, or potentially not being able to retire, to having a little bit extra, not only in cash, because we know that $10,000 of that severance money is not going to be spent on debt service, but also she has a little bit of cushion in her retirement plan because she has $285,000 in there.
And she only needed $235,000.
Exactly. But there's one thing that you mentioned, Dad, that we did need to circle back to. after the first 6 months on Cobra, Kelly's going to have to pick up that $800 or $870 a month payment.
Right.
So that does mean that for a short period, a protracted period of time, so basically from
15 months for her because she...
A little bit less than 15 months because she's not exactly 63.
Gotcha.
So we're talking a less than depending upon when her last day is at work, we're talking about anywhere from a year, 8 to 12 months in terms of needing to make these Cobra payments.
Right.
We're comfortable with an elevated rate of withdrawal if necessary for that short period of time because we know as soon as she turns 65, Medicare is going to kick in and that number is going to fall away again. So we can look at it in a couple of ways. Either if Kelly's working with us, we can send her, first we're going to start out by sending her $800 a month for the first 6 months. Then we might need to bump that up to $1,600 a month in order for her to pay that Cobra payment. Or she might say, I still have this $10,000 in reserves from my severance. I'll make 8 months of my Cobra payments. And then if I need any extra, I'll come back and say, hey, can I take a little bit from the retirement account to make that work?
That's interesting. The other thing is, and we hadn't discussed this, but you did make a recommendation that she take her Social Security immediately because she's 63.
She's 63 and she's single.
She's single. And so in most cases, that really makes sense to take it right away. But if for some reason she had been buying into the Kool-Aid machine, that she should put it off, now we know that she has a little bit of room to do that. Even though we don't recommend it, she could do that.
She could consider doing that, but in our minds, if you're single and you are retiring, it usually makes sense for you to take because the way that I've been thinking about it lately is really this is all your money, right? Either the government is holding on to it for you and going to pay it out to you on a monthly basis, so that's a fixed income, or you're going to dip into your own liquidity in order to bump up your fixed payments. But we know that when the Cobra issue is resolved, not only does Kelly have excellent cash flow because she's only short about $800 a month, but that creates a little extra liquidity for her because we know that she's got about $50,000 of funds that we would consider our fund money because they're not going to go to making sure that we can continue to make that $800 a month payment to her. Right,
and so in reality, what happened was her 4% prudent withdrawal rate went down. It's not 4% anymore because we have that extra $50,000.
Exactly. So that means that in the years that maybe she wants to take the grandbaby on a super nice vacation, or she wants to even invite her daughters and son-in-law along, then she's got a little extra to do some extra things that she would like in her retirement. So it's always nice to know that you have a buffer.
Yeah, and having that buffer really gave her choices.
Exactly.
And the more choices you have, the more fun you can have, which is great. So again, this was a little bit of fun with Kelly, and I think the cool part was that we did this right in front of her. Yeah. It wasn't like, come back in 2 weeks, we're going to throw this through a computer. I mean, we really used the master computer, which is our brains, to say, okay, this is a cash flow problem. It's an algebra problem. Let's figure out the algebra. You were able to determine, hey, these were the obstacles that were really keeping her back. And what's neat is that the pieces really did fit together. They
did, and I think this is another excellent example of it's really important for us to have the opportunity to get to know all of our clients and potential clients, because just using the raw numbers, $2,800 a month, that's not going to work. But having the opportunity to sit down with Kelly, even if it was over Zoom, and truly chat with her about not where she's spending the money, but just what makes up those expenses. It's not a value judgment or a criticism. It's just where's the money going, so we can get an idea of if there's any way that we can adjust the cash flow. And that gave us the opportunity to find out that, like you said, 35% of her expenses were going to debt service. If there's a way to alleviate that, then the picture becomes a lot different. And you can't get that from just a computer program.
No, you're right, baby. And something that you didn't really emphasize here, which also was important, was that these debts that were mounted up were event-driven. This wasn't a situation where Kelly was really negatively cash flowing.
Right, living above her means in some way or another.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good point because, like we talk about often, we want our clients to be able to live the same life they did the day before they retire as the day after they retire. That really goes to the heart of the fact that most people don't change. Like once you have been set in your ways for quite some time, we're dealing with people that are retiring, 55 and older, you've created a lifestyle for yourself that you enjoy living. You have expenses and things that you'd like to do, places that your money's dedicated. It was important for us to find out that those debts, like a car, the personal loan that went to one of her children for a little bit of assistance one time, those were not ongoing expenses. So that means we weren't going to have to deal with debt service again, meaning, 2 years from now, Kelly comes back and says, I've accumulated this debt again. And us having to figure out what are your real numbers? Like, what are we really spending? Right. Because even if you put it on a credit card and then put off paying it, you still spent the money. Now it's just becoming more expensive every day. So that is important. That's another important reason why we like to get to know our clients, so we know, hey, these are one-time things that we're dealing with versus maybe we do need to adjust the cash flow to account for the fact that you're spending more than what you say your monthly budget is.
Yes, and in general, we don't use the word budget because people think of these things as spending targets. And in reality, people spend what they spend. When I know when we're sitting together and we're hearing I can save during retirement, or I don't have to spend this much, we just like to say, we love you, but you're a liar. Because
also,
people don't change their spending.
I a lot of times it feels like people are going to the dentist when they come to see us. Like it's, like they have something to justify. In our minds, there's nothing to justify here. We're just trying to get you to where you want to go, and really your current lifestyle is where you want to go, or you wouldn't be there. If it's not where you want to go, though, that is a conversation that you'd have with your spouse, or Kelly would have with herself, I guess, to determine what are the things that she wants to change and how does that impact her budget. That's not for us to decide. That's for her to decide.
Yeah, we're not Susie Orman.
No. We have an excellent text question.
Very good. We'll go for it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a question about umbrella liability policies.
Beautiful.
If you have $1 million in assets and $1 million umbrella policy, are you shielding your assets or just providing deeper pockets for a potential lawsuit? I only have experience through family members, but it seems like lawsuits are based on funds available, not uniform judgments.
Yes and no. Well, what happens is, the function of umbrella liability coverage is to expand your liability insurance beyond the point of basic coverage. With your homeowners, with your automobile, you really have about $300,000 basic coverage. So having an umbrella, $1 million umbrella, as they call it, extends that coverage to $1 million.
Right. It's not shielding your $1 million. It's saying that you have coverage up to a judgment of $1 million.
Right. So I don't really think it's a case of the chicken or the egg.
But also, if there's no juice left in the turnip, there's no money to. So unfortunately, people that have funds to be able to pay a judgment have to pay the judgment. Versus if the judgment comes down and you don't have the money to pay it, well, then there's nothing to pay.
And I would also say to our texter,
yes,
he or she, good question. And since you've seen, I'm assuming that you currently do have umbrella liability coverage, which we do recommend to all of our clients as well. We don't sell it.
Correct.
But we tell them call up their homeowner's agent right away.
Or their auto coverage, wherever they're getting. Because usually a lot of times bundling in this particular case, they do give you some discounts, or it's just easier.
And you really want protection from somebody getting hurt on your property.
Right.
Johnny banging a car into somebody, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So, good question, and hopefully you got the answer you wanted. Right?
Or the answer probably not the one you wanted, because unfortunately, lawsuits are never. The answers to lawsuits are usually never fun.
Right, and they do go after the deepest pockets, as it were.
Of course.
So,
but having the $1 million policy doesn't reveal to anyone that you have $1 million.
Right.
Because you could have far less than $1 million and own the $1 million policy, because really what you're trying to do is protect yourself from anything more than that.
Extending your coverage, that's all. So while we're waiting for your calls at 931-5877, star 5877 from your cell phones, or 84126 from the air-controlled text line.
Controlled. You make it sound like I'm, censoring the text or something. I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean,
where's Team Jeff this morning? Hello.
That's not my fault. I mean, if they're sleeping,
wake
they're
up,
sleeping.
Team Jeffers.
Right. They're
Get
not
with
vocal
it,
this
baby.
morning. It was a long, hot week. They're tired.
It sure was. I didn't fare well in the heat this week, unfortunately.
It's what happens when you golf when it's 327 degrees outside.
It was not a good day for me. But I do want to thank my friend for taking me. It's just,
the weather
unfortunately, I wilted in the heat, which is something unusual. So let's move on to Kevin. I like Kevin. Kevin's a great name. It could be a man, could be a woman.
It could be. That is one of those names.
Your mom's roommate, who became a physician oncologist. Her name was Kevin.
Still is, since she's alive.
Yes, she is. She's good lady too. Kevin visited with us last week because it was time for him to do his rollover of his 401k plan from his previous employer. He had retired the previous month, and
we were already ready with the game plan.
Yes, we were. And of course, it's the money is the fuel,
right,
that makes these game plan work.
Exactly.
So, there's a process that everybody has to go through when you're moving your money from a
employer-based plan
to an individual plan.
Right. The first thing is you need an individual account, meaning you need an IRA. If it's an IRA, if it's a traditional 401k, you need an IRA account, so both pre-tax.
Yes, because we want these to be considered direct transfers and coded as such with the Internal Revenue Service.
Exactly.
Now, in this particular case, our administrative assistant,
client service manager,
the money lady, got on the phone. We did a conference call with his 401k provider, and we found out that Kevin had about $470,000 of pre-tax assets.
So that was in a traditional IRA or traditional 401k.
Yes, but he also had $12,200 in an after-tax account.
So sometimes there are two ways that this happens. The most common way is that you were contributing to a plan before they had the pre-tax option.
Right, like a thrift savings plan.
Exactly. Or you had made some contributions to an after-tax, like a Roth 401k account. But that's less common just because they're a newer tool.
Yes. So, in speaking with on the phone, we had to pause because Kevin had to consider his options. Number one is that we knew the pre-tax was going to an IRA.
Right, so that there wasn't really anything to consider there.
No.
We wanted to roll those assets over, like you said, Dad, trustee to trustee, so there's no taxation in the movement of those assets.
Yes, and we also knew that the interest that he earned on that after-tax money was still going to be included in the pre-tax amount, so he didn't pay taxes on that. But he had two options with that after-tax money. He could either take it home,
right,
cut me a check, or he could move it into a Roth. Which
means that we would need to set one of those up.
Yes. So in other words, before we made this phone call with Kevin, this is important. We had to have two accounts set up.
Right.
One was to accept the pre-tax money because the custodian generally wants to know the new
name,
custodian
and then account number that it's going to, and the address.
Yes, that's correct. And then the same thing for the Roth.
Right, because they're going to go separate places.
Now, what's cool is that moving this money into a Roth would let it permit it to grow income tax free.
But Kevin didn't have a Roth account. We created one for him for this particular event in the case that he wanted to move that after-tax money into the Roth account.
And this is a however.
Right. So that means that he's going to have to wait 5 years if he decides that he'd like to roll the money into the Roth IRA from his after-tax account. He's going to have to wait 5 years from the date that the money is accepted into the Roth account before he can pull funds from it before he can pull the growth from it tax-free. So even though he happens to be over 59 and a half, there's still one extra restriction on the Roth, meaning it needs to be there for at least 5 years.
Now, if Kevin had a previous Roth account,
and we added to it,
then the 5-year period starts from the initiation of the initial Roth contribution.
right, so this extra contribution, they don't make distinctions between annual contributions, meaning like, okay, it's been the first contribution you made could be pulled 5 years later, then the second is 6 years. They don't do it like that. It's just from the opening and funding of the first dollar.
Man, it's good to know all this fun stuff, right?
It's great.
Rules. I mean, the rules are there to use them to your most, to your best effect, right?
So, having chatted with Kevin about all of this,
And more importantly,
about his plans,
Kevin's wife,
that's right. We know
the big boss.
that the big boss has several honeydews for Kevin.
Which involve capital.
Which involve some of Kevin's capital. Well, really, it's the wife's capital, I guess, right?
Yes.
So since she had some projects ready, we knew that he was going to need money for materials. Well, it's possible that we just found the money for those materials in the after-tax account. If we choose...
We were just slow to get there because his wife already done so.
Right. She already created the budget. We were just funding it.
There you go.
So instead of having to wait 5 years to grab at that $12,000, we suggested, since it's already been dedicated, why don't we have them send it directly to your wife? So, well, really to Kevin, because that's where it has to go. But then, he can pass it along to his wife so she can direct the material purchases.
And this is usually wise because Kevin doesn't want to spend the next 3 years sitting on that or sleeping on the couch, right?
Right, and this is a great example of that you have options. A rollover is usually what people do when they get to retirement because they like to easily have access to their funds without any restrictions or extra fees, which in some cases, employer-based plans, 401ks may have those because they're really accumulation vehicles, not distribution vehicles. This is an example of when it doesn't make sense to roll over the money because simply by moving the money from the after-tax account with his employer to a Roth account, he's locked the money up for 5 years unless he wants to pay taxes, which would be crazy because if he had just taken it directly home with him, there wouldn't be.
But the truth is that he still had to deal with this issue separately.
Right. You had to do two separate transactions.
Because a big mistake, and we've seen this happen before, is where somebody will roll over the after-tax money with the pre-tax money.
And as soon as you commingle, the IRS says that's a bonus for us because now you just pay taxes.
Well,
or
right.
you have to figure out how to prove which fund. And since when you do a rollover, there are no funds. What happens is the plan that you are holding your money will liquidate the account and send a check made out to your broker-dealer. In our case, it would be LPL Financial, for the benefit of, in this particular case, it would be Kevin.
Yes.
Which means that the only place the check can be cashed is at the broker-dealer into Kevin's account, and that's considered a direct transfer because the check was not made out to Kevin. He couldn't actually cash it himself. The only place it could go is into his account. So if Kevin had made the mistake of saying, send all of it to my traditional IRA account, then everything would have been liquidated, commingled, and sent, and that means that he would have lost the benefit of his after. He already paid taxes on that $12,000. Now he's going to pay it again.
Yeah, so having someone assisting with that was certainly a benefit to Kevin, and at the same time doing some advanced planning, as Kevin's wife did, made it even better.
Well, that's right, because at the end of the day, the rollover for the Roth portion or for the after-tax portion was not the best option for Kevin and Kevin's wife's plans.
That's right, which is kind of fun. But again,
Exactly.
Making these happen and making them being considered direct rollovers
It's really important.
is really important. So
Because also, I mean, what we really were missing is the 12,000 is a small number, so that would be
Right.
shooting yourself in the foot, but in a small way. Be like a BB gun to the foot. Whereas if that 470,000, if you don't properly roll that over, you're looking at automatically being taxed 20%, and having to get that back from the IRS, which is a pain. Or you're looking at paying taxes on $470,000 in 1 year, which is not ideal. That's a big shot to the foot. That's like a shotgun to the foot.
It's like a nuke. It's like getting nuked.
Well, you're right. Well, you're really hampering. You're really putting yourself at a disadvantage before, if you want to call it the retirement race, before it even begins. Like, you haven't even started, and now you're at a disadvantage.
And look, the IRS is okay with this stuff. I mean, you have to.
That's why there are rules,
right?
Because you can show them that. Yeah.
And the rules are easy. Just follow them.
Or have someone who's well versed in the rules facilitate, because, for example, for our clients, there's no charge for us to do this. It's part of the 1% fee that we charge all of our clients. This is just one of the services that we provide to make sure that everything goes the way it's supposed to.
That's right. Part of their game plan, monitoring, investment management.
Right. This is part of investment management and financial planning, making sure that we're following all the rules and regulations that the IRS sets out for us.
Yeah, which is good.
It is.
Again, 931-5877, star 5877 from your cell phones, or 84126 from the Aaron controlled text line. We're not getting much action on the text line today, are we?
Team Jeff must be having a meeting without you.
I think that they're
We're having a team meeting.
They're getting ready to do a big one.
A big meeting?
Big text.
A group text they're preparing?
It'll probably be in capital letters, all caps.
Well, that makes sense. And what are they screaming about?
Well, we can't go there.
Exactly.
Okay. So, I know that you received some correspondence through our website.
In the form of an email?
Yes, which, of course, I didn't get to see.
Well, it wasn't even addressed to you, so why would you need to see it?
To protect the innocent.
What?
But it came from Ivy. Nice name.
It's a really nice name.
Ivy, right? And she said, "Hi, Aaron."
I really don't think she sounds like that.
You do, but it's okay.
I sound like that?
Yes, I listened to your show and know you're an expert on Medicare enrollment.
Well, I like Ivy already.
Well, Ivy's not lying. #1 agent in Missouri. It's cool.
Aww.
You know every detail about all the Advantage plans. Well,
wow, this is a sweet compliment.
Thank you, Cousin Ivy.
Don't be jealous.
You are the person we will go to when we're ready to sign up for Medicare. Woo!
That's a
I
nice,
like that.
Yeah.
But I have some questions.
Now, she has some questions now.
My husband turned 65 last January. Ooh. He is still working, but may stop working soon. Okay. #1 question. Can he sign up for Medicare right now or need to wait until he stops working? You know, the #1 question people ask, right?
It really is.
Like, did I blow it, or should I wait? Or
my friends are all telling me I absolutely blew it. There's no way I could have not blown it. I must have blown it.
Don't.
It's blown.
Listen to your friends.
Everything is ruined.
They're not licensed insurance agents. Don't listen to them.
Please don't.
Listen
really, please don't. People that are licensed.
Like Aaron.
So the first question is, can he sign up for Medicare right now?
No.
Well, yes, he can. That's the problem. You don't need to, though. He didn't sign up between now and then, so there's no reason to. And I really think this question is more about the timeliness, I think, which is how long does it take? The great thing about Medicare enrollment is Medicare sides with the enrollee, which means there aren't any crazy rules about enrollment. As long as you get your enrollment paperwork in the day before the first of the month that you would like coverage, it will be honored. It may take a while for you to get your cards and everything in place, but you would have that other effective date. However, because he is still employed, still working, there's no reason for him to sign up for Medicare unless he was working for an employer that had less than 20 employees.
Where he would have been probably forced to sign up.
Right, where he would have already signed up. So that tells me that most likely there was no reason for him to sign up. So there's still no reason for him to sign up.
And I guess what this Ivy's getting to, Ivy, what she's getting to is that there is this Medicare Part B penalty if you don't sign up on a timely basis.
But that's key. The timely basis is key. Timely is different for everyone.
Right.
If you have individual health insurance, which means you retired before 65 and you didn't have access anywhere else, when you turn 65, you need to enroll. That's timely. If you're on COBRA, another example of timeliness, you need to enroll when you turn 65.
COBRA is not good.
COBRA is not considered qualified coverage under Medicare, and the reason for that is because COBRA was designed by Congress to be available for people that did not have access to other coverage.
It was a bridge.
Right. You have coverage. You have access to qualified coverage if you are turning 65. It's Medicare.
Yes.
Also, for most people, you don't want to keep your COBRA when you get. Most people are dying to get to 65 when they're using their COBRA benefits because it's going to be less expensive for you.
And Medicare's better.
And in most cases, it is more comprehensive and also less expensive for you in most cases.
You know, it's like coming up to the pearly gates and not wanting to go in because you don't understand that Medicare
is great.
Is heaven.
That's right. For most people, Medicare is heaven.
It is heaven for most people.
For most people. So then the next... Oh, well, please, continue.
Question 2. If I enroll him in my employee insurance, she happens to be working for my alma mater, one of the great universities in the country, located somewhere near Big Bend and Forsyth, can he sign up for Medicare anytime later or need to wait until I retire?
Oh, so this is so cool.
How could you ask for like 3 questions in one question, in one sentence? Because she works
this is
at
great.
One of the great universities.
Right, but this is great because what happens here is that Ivy's husband has all the options open to him, which means...
In the world.
Right, which means when he retires, he gets to make the decision, what's less expensive, COBRA or my wife's policy through a very excellent university located in St. Louis. Then he gets to decide every year and every single day, really, while his wife is still working, if he likes the coverage or not. Any day he doesn't like it, he can say, I would like to leave and join Medicare. You can voluntarily disenroll. Medicare is the only kind of insurance that allows for it, meaning you get to choose when you leave employer-based coverage, be it your own or a spouse's, and you can enroll in Medicare. That would be considered timely. So he would disenroll at the end of the month from the university-based coverage and enroll in Medicare for the first of the next month, and he would have continuous coverage.
So this is kind of cool. If I'm understanding things, if my 64-year-old brain understands things,
mm-hmm.
He gets through and he quits, and he says, nope. He didn't have Medicare Part B because he has a special enrollment where he can enroll in Medicare. But he goes, no, I don't want to do that. I'm going to go on to my wife's plan.
He can continue. He could take his wife's policy
and still not have to deal with Medicare in that particular case.
Yes,
and continue to be covered on her plan until either generally the
person
premium
goes up. Like
it goes up, or his drugs aren't covered the same way, or whatever it would be, and then he says out, or she retires.
Right. The more likely scenario is that if he elects to go on to his wife's coverage, he'll stay until she retires.
Yes.
But there are some cases where, during the university's open enrollment period and you determine that, hey, the benefits have changed, maybe they've gone up, maybe the price has gone up or the benefits have gone down in a way that you don't like, or... Another thing we've noticed that has happened over the course of the implementation of the Affordable Care Act is that some employers will say that there is an additional cost for spouses if they have access to other coverage.
Right.
If you're over 65 and that means you have access to Medicare, they may tack on an additional premium to your base premium. So say they cover spouses at no charge or $100 a month or whatever. They may say, okay, well, because Ivy's husband has access to Medicare, he gets a surcharge of $100 a month.
Which may make it not affordable for him to go there. He should be going on to his Medicare Part B and a supplement.
Exactly. So you want to weigh your options before you make a decision, but it is nice to know that you have quite a few options available to you to make a decision on.
Which is kind of cool. And her last thing was, can we make an appointment with you to talk to you sometime? And the answer is, yes, you can, Ivy. It's easy to do. Either go to the contact us section at rjblfinancial.com website or give us a call, 314-863-0008. And you're probably going to be talking to Frank.
That's right.
Our newest health insurance coach.
I taught him everything he knows.
She is very well taught at this particular moment. He's been working with us for the last 6 months.
Right, since March.
Which is awesome.
Very awesome.
Going to be helping Aaron and really, I guess I would say, spearheading open enrollment. And he will also most likely show up on the show
in the next few weeks.
That's right. Just so you know, before we launch our newest Medicare and Me show.
What?
That's the name. Medicare and Me.
I just go where I'm told if I agree to it.
That's correct. Exactly. So we'll be doing a new show during open enrollment. The Aaron show.
It's really going to be the Frank show.
I think it's going to be the Aaron show.
Aaron and Frank.
Aaron and Frank show.
Medicare and Me.
Medicare and Me.
It's
If our listeners come up with a better name.
You know, if the listeners, if you happen to come up with...
Send us an email. Aaron@jblfinancial.com, or go to the Contact Us section of our website.
Or send a text to 84126.
Right. Give us a name for the show. But I'm thinking Medicare and Me.
Right. I don't think we can call it Medicare and You because that's what the government calls that book.
Exactly. You can't dissuade the boss. That was all good.
That's fair.
Very good. But Ivy, thank you so much for that question. We really appreciate it, and it may show up on our new show.
It may.
Cool.
We did receive a text. It was a greeting, though, someone that felt bad for you.
Nice.
Good morning, Jeff and Aaron.
Team Jeffers. Come on, baby. Jeff and Aaron. Well, that's nice.
You'll literally take anything at this point.
I swear to God that I will. You took all the first appointments, you take all the texts, all the emails.
Have you ever?
I get nothing back.
Have you ever heard someone complain about not having to work much? So much.
Thank God.
Have you ever?
Thank God I own 100% of the stock of this
Have
company.
you ever heard such tears?
I've never had
from
somebody.
Such.
I've never. I don't think anybody's had a more capable partner than you.
Why? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I'm going to do my best to not take any more work from you.
Good. Because I'm snagging some of this stuff.
That's cute.
So, come on. What was our text?
The text just said good morning. They were feeling bad for you. That's it. There was no question.
How did you interpret that?
Because they didn't have a question.
Maybe
they
want to interrupt you because they wanted some of the spotlight to come back to the old man.
Right. They felt bad for you.
Oh, God. Think Uber. Think Uber.
Supporting the local economy.
And I do want to mention that our last segment, our healthcare segment.
That's right. Sponsored every single week.
By our very good friends.
Aetna and Anthem of Missouri.
Thank you so much for your support of our show, The Aaron.
Our show. Straight Talk on Retirement.
The Aaron Show. And we do have about a minute and a half left, which is kind of nice.
It is.
And it is nice because that means I get to either segue
into something else
or not segue. But I do want to remind folks that it's very easy to come to visit with Aaron and us, and we don't change it. This is what you get when you come to the office.
That's
a little bit
right.
of fun, because retirement planning is fun.
It should be fun. This is the culmination of all the work that you've done throughout your entire life.
And I mean, us getting the privilege to join you on this journey.
Right, we get to come in at the finish line, right, really?
How cool is that?
It's pretty fun.
There is nothing.
And we get to hear about all the exciting plans.
And about your kids, and
the
about your grandkids, and about
the new dogs.
Whatever
pets,
it would be.
Any kind of cool stuff.
What are your plans?
I just learned from a client that they're taking a class at the local community college on how to raise chickens. So it's possible that I might go too. It's free. You get to learn.
I see.
Continued learning.
Am I going to let our listeners in on this?
What? That I'm going to raise some chickens?
That you want to raise chickens?
Yeah.
That you want to be Green Acres?
Yeah.
No.
You should let them know, because then maybe they will have tips and tricks.
You know, I am your boss, so I could, if you like me to, say, have a great weekend.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the Retirement Coach. We'll be back next week at 10 a.m. here on the Big 550 KTRS.